Welcome to Mr. Fontura. Good to see you, Danny. Let's go ahead and do the roll call then.
Present.
Here.
Here. Okay. And I assume we have no items to be added or deleted.
No, sir.
If we delete one, it's going to be a really short meeting. Okay. Yeah, but I don't even see it on here. It's not on here. Okay. This is an adjourned, so we can just proceed with the agenda item. Okay, let's do that then. We have new business. One item. This is the item is number one: issuers' fees for Loma University Medical Center bond refinancing of Conduit Hospital Revenue Bond Series 2007B-1, $40 million, and Hospital Revenue Bond Series 2008B, as in boy, $25 million. Finance Director, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. Before you, we have a proposal for a conduit financing issue. It's actually a refinancing issue by the Loma University Medical Center, which we need to bring before you to vote on the issuer's fee if we choose to do an alternate fee. In 2006, we adopted a resolution for policy on conduit issues, which changed our fee structure at the time, where we would do a lower percentage, which was 1/8 of 1% on the original principal, and do an annual fee on the outstanding principal of 1/8 of 1%. There is a part of the policy that says in lieu of that, if we find that there's substantial savings, council can impose 1/4 of 1% on the principal as a one-time fee. The policy never directly addresses refinancing, but council has the discretion to adopt an alternate fee as well by a majority vote or a unanimous vote if there's less than 4 members voting. Before you, you have previously in April of 2012, Loma Linda did a refinancing of $40 million for their Series 2000B1, and we did adopt a one-time fee of $50,000, which equates to 1/8 of 1%. So before you, we do have 2 options to go ahead and stick with the 1/8 of 1% as an alternate fee on the $40 million and the $25 million, which equals $81,250, or option 2, which is to charge a flat fee of $50,000, which equals 1/13 of 1%.
Okay, thank you. Questions of council? Do we need a motion first or just go to discussion? Okay. Questions, comments?
I wasn't here when you decided to change it in the past. Was there? Can you enlighten me as to what was the reasoning?
Well, it sounds like the fee schedule was changed in 2006, so I don't think any of us were here.
Nobody was here.
The only thing that came up is last year was the flat fee that we charged, but at the rate it would have only been $50,000 anyway, correct?
Correct.
So I don't know why we called it a flat fee or why we said it was anything special in April.
Because it's not part of the standard fee. It's not part of, there's 2 options in the current policy, but again, it doesn't specifically say, the language doesn't say refinancing, it just says conduit issues. So, and the original one is 1/8 of 1% on the principal, and then annual fees of 1/8 on the outstanding principal. And then there's an alternate fee where you can do 1/4 of 1%. But we even adopted a 1/8 of 1% as a one-time fee on a refinancing.
So in April we basically cut a break and only imposed that $50,000, and now here we are again, with another refinance. And our options are either A, stick with what is already established, which would be 81,250, or come up with or impose just a flat fee.
Correct.
1/13 of 1%, which is what that would be.
Before we get too far in the discussion, Danny, would you like to kind of present the medical center's perspective on this to help us out a little bit?
Sure. And speaking with Steve a few hours ago, ultimately what we're doing is engaging in this refinancing largely to abate some of the risk, because it was a variable, what's the term? We're moving from a variable rate loan where there's an implied risk depending upon the underwriter or the issuer of the debt. If anything happens, we're liable for the entire amount, to a variable rate term structure, whereby we don't actually bear that risk. So the savings are somewhat nominal to the medical center. I think they roughly equate to about $100,000 a year. But we're doing this actually to, in essence, unwind a synthetic kind of device structure or debt structure that, again, had us take on more risk than we'd like. And ultimately, while Bank of America is a fairly secure institution, we thought we'd take this opportunity to go ahead and move away from the current structure to a variable rate term device or structure. So that's kind of the background as it related to me just a few hours ago.
And the basis, for proposing the one-time $50,000 fee for the combined refinancing, you want to address that?
Sure. To the best I can. Ultimately, in speaking with Steve about how these are entered into with local municipalities, he explained to me that a lot of times, most of the time, there is no such charge. But we'd like to do this as a way of nonetheless indicating the partnership that we have with the city. Certainly it's not up to the 1/8 of 1% that was outlined in April 2006, but it equates to about 1/13 of 1%. So as I shared with me, he thought it was deal points that were developed in concert with the city, and that he thought was a fair number. In light of the fact that we actually don't make a lot of money on this refinancing, it's just simply a matter of abating some of the risk.
Okay. Any additional clarification or context from staff?
For me, is again, as a staff, I cannot make a deal. That's why I bring it to the council, and just want to let you know.
Is there any staff work involved in this on our side?
Prepare the staff report.
I mean, outside of this staff report, but as far as in the refinancing process?
As far as finance staff, no. I mean, basically, it's handled by the attorneys, and the Loma Linda University Medical Center pays the attorney fees.
So this is basically $50,000 added to our budget.
Correct.
Okay. Any legal issues we need to be concerned about in terms of precedent setting or not following previous precedent and how we've handled this?
Well, no. I think you can do what you feel is appropriate tonight. It's within your discretion. It might be appropriate to go back and revisit that old resolution at some point just to make sure that when these issues come up on a regular basis that we have a policy in place rather than having to revisit it every time.
It actually sounds like we do have a policy in place. We just aren't really following it. Based on the fact we're not really in the business of making money, I mean, and I'm not really concerned about the difference between these two fees, other than I just want to emphasize our working relationship with the university and I take this back, that there are other things that, we are trying to collaborate on and work with you folks on. And so I think if a gesture of goodwill is made here, that it would be, we would like to maybe see it reciprocated down the road somewhere.
Absolutely, council member. Agreed, and I will take that message back.
Comments, Councilman Leonard? Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that Mr. Moore said that it's generally these things are not charged for. Is that what you were saying? I'm not. But yet, from here, you're saying that this is kind of our policy. So the two statements seem to be in conflict, so I'm not sure.
I was asking him the question in relation to how other cities work with, let's say, academic centers when they actually refinance or issue debt, and that was his statement to me. It wasn't about Loma per se. It was about, in general, the way the industry works. Yeah.
Any comment from, any?
Well, I'm not familiar with how other cities may act in similar situations. I know that in Loma Linda, as long as I've been city attorney, we've always had a fee attached to any bond proceeds that were through the city as a conduit agency.
This topic came up not too long ago when we were talking about redevelopment and housing stuff, right? We discussed this, and there were some issues where it was basically it was kind of thrown up that, hey, we do this bond thing for the university all the time, as if it's just a norm that that it's something we do for other people. And so I think without that fee structure in place, it kind of looks like we're maybe not, for lack of a better word, a pawn, and we cannot be. We have to make sure that we don't have that perception. So I think it's a good thing to have the fee structure in place, personally. Of course, and then back to the other comment about other cities that may or may not do this. I don't know how many other cities are in this unique type of situation. And this is one of those things, I'm sorry, you're the messenger, and I'm not trying to, you could say, hey, I'm just the messenger. But we also have to keep in mind that, and this is what I kind of alluded to earlier, this is a city where almost half of the land inside the city limits is owned by the university. We have a lot of things happen here during the day, especially with people coming in to use university services and whatnot. And then we have limited amount of services, such as our fire, police, and things like that. So again, we do. I think we have a very good working relationship with the university and the medical center. Although we always have to kind of balance and make sure that we are also being doing our due diligence to represent the city of Loma Linda too. So I'm kind of rambling, but did I make my point, sort of?
Good comment.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was getting at. If we have a different kind of situation here than maybe we do in other cities, where the one entity owns a lot of the land and it's a nonprofit situation, then maybe we need to be careful if we, start waiving fees, because this would be the way we would get fees from that, because we wouldn't be getting it the other way. I think you said it much more eloquently than I did, but that's kind of... But I understand what you're saying, too, about the relationship and all that.
Okay, if there are no other comments, a motion would be in order. And judging by the clock on the wall, it's getting pretty late. 2:45.
In this particular situation, because this is a refinance of an existing bond, that this is not a new series, and because of my earlier comment, and I think the response I got from Gentleman Percenter that we maybe do have some other things that we're trying to collaborate on, that we would appreciate that type of cooperation on that side. I am inclined to make a motion that we just impose a flat fee of $50,000.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Very good. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I think that was unanimous. And since we're all here, thanks very much.
Thank you, council members. Appreciate it. And as a resident of Loma Linda and a neighbor of Dr. Lenart's, I very much appreciate the work that goes on here and the balance that you have to strike. It's certainly a position that you're in that I would not want myself. So keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you. And we see you brought your boss with you, too. If he has any comments, he'd be welcome. While we're here, and since I've been stuck in the office most of the time, can you give us a quick update on Mountain View? We're making progress?
Yesterday, I cleaned up on both sides. I started placing rocks on the eastbound off-ramp. So,
very good. You made my day. I just needed a little good news.
And on your way home, it's late now, take a look at the going south on Mountain View on the right-hand side. We remove the shrubs and put in hardscape. You turn left on Beaumont. The median that used to have weed growing is now hardscape. The intersection of Nielsen and David Way used to have a shrub that grows so tall that people can't see oncoming traffic, so we removed that and started putting the
and this is also being done for conservation efforts?
Yes, sir, and also reducing irrigation water, too.
Right.
So hopefully the residents like it, so that's the way we are going.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from councilmen? Then we stand adjourned. Thank you.